No, you must be.
Yeah. Chris wouldn't let me stay at his house last night. So
Rude.
Yeah.
This is where we're starting. We're starting right here.
that's where we're starting.
Wow.
He's got this new Giggly Squad fame going.
Oh, wow. I didn't know.
Yeah, he was on stage with them.
Wow, that's impressive.
Oh, that's what I thought. Until
And
he
so
st-
that's
until
the
he
reason
stopped.
why
I
you couldn't
changed
stay at his
immediately.
place?
Yeah, maybe like that was last week. So
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
he's got residual dates from
I would
suddenly
imagine
turning.
the fame really just takes over.
It's in his head.
And then you have
Blows him up.
no
Okay.
room for friends anymore.
No.
No, I mean it's tough. But no, so just spent like 30 straight hours on a plane, and got a couple hours sleep, and
Brutal.
we are out of episodes, so this is like coming right out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Scary, but cool. Fun.
It is scary because like especially when Ash had to
I know.
wasn't feeling well, so now I don't have one for the next week, so now I got to figure that. I'll
He
figure it out.
literally, he sounds terrible.
That's good he didn't come.
And I'm
then.
the kind of person, like, I can't help but be sort of fun and funny. So he thinks I'm funny. So he laughs at everything I say. And like the laughing makes the coughing worse. So he's like, please stop talking. I'm sorry.
The avoidance of sickness is on my list of all things right now. So it's freezing in New York right now, and this is unreal. But you've already helped the show. You already had Kelly.
Great. Should I just go? Or?
Yeah, no, you've already helped the show outside of this, helping get Kelly on the show, and it was a great conversation. We had a blast. He was texting me last night about Big East tickets for basketball. So
That's funny. He was texting me this morning about scones.
scones.
Yeah.
I don't get many scone text messages.
Neither do I.
Is it because of the Upper West Side
No,
Trader
he
Joe's?
had brought me some scones to the office, and he asked me how they were. And I said, well, one was really good, but the rest got hard because I left them on the windowsill. So I think he was a little disappointed that I didn't eat all the scones.
So Kyle, we always start cold here.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're doing. We're just trying to figure it out. But your name's Kyle Luker.
That's me.
Yeah. And you're moderately famous for a whole manner of things.
I think I'm like adjacent to some fame.
Seriously adjacent to fame.
Adjacent, yeah.
Seriously adjacent, but moderately yourself.
No, I would go with moderately adjacent.
Behind the Trader Joe's on the Upper West Side.
Yeah, that was one of the, like, I feel bad because people talk about what they did during COVID. People learned other languages. People like invented things, and like I made a stupid Instagram.
Yeah, but there's a special person that shops at Trader Joe's.
There really is. There really is. And I thought to myself, like, when they first stopped letting the line be inside the Trader Joe's, I thought, well, who's going to want to go? You're going to have to wait in line outside. Like, for me, sometimes if I see a line when I go in there, I just turn around and leave. Because I'm like, well, but if I'm going to wait outside and not even have an opportunity to grab a couple things. So I just thought there would be no line. And then sure enough, like 8 o'clock in the morning, yeah, they were just chatting outside the window. And I said, can I swear?
Yeah, you can swear. There's no rules here.
Okay, good. So this girl's on her phone, and she's going on about how she's going to get epic berries to get berries to make epic smoothies. And she's screaming into the phone. It's got to be like 8:30 in the morning. And first of all, I thought, I was like, who are you friends with that takes your call 8:30 in the morning to talk about smoothies? Like, what is going on? So we always keep our windows a little bit open, and I flung the window all the way up, and I said, shut the fuck up. Nobody cares that you're getting berries for epic smoothies. And she kind of looked all shocked, and I closed the window, and I turned around, and my husband just sat up in bed, and he shook his finger at me, and he goes, find a better way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, dude, come on. So yeah, then the next day I put up a sign I had to make up her name. I don't know what her name was. So I said, Stacy, shut the fuck up. No one cares that you're buying berries to make epic smoothies, and we're sleeping in here. And I put it on my Instagram, and a client of mine that was in LA saw it. He goes, this is really funny. You should do these every day, but find someone else to write the sign because your penmanship is terrible.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's how the Instagram started.
That is how the Instagram started.
So you're classified as a Karen.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, I guess
you didn't call the police, I guess. It could have been worse.
Yeah, I didn't call the police. I just took matters into my home. I guess that's a Karen.
Yeah. I mean, you see those videos on the internet of people screaming at other people.
But I felt like I was screaming for our whole building. Like I was fighting for my fellow
for
brownstone.
justice. For justice.
For justice, exactly.
So having lived on the Upper West Side for a couple of years and right next to a Trader Joe's, 72nd and Broadway.
Oh, nice.
I know what you're going through, but I also know who you are.
I mean, what do you mean in terms of like
the yelling out the window?
I am that person.
Yeah.
I am that person.
I know. Like, so you in that side of the Upper West Side, you would shop at the not the Trader Joe's, the other store up. You know, the
what, Whole Foods?
Citarella.
Oh, I do like a Citarella.
Yeah. And then I would get in your way, and you would like bump me with your cart.
Yeah, at Citarella.
Yeah,
for sure. No, I know what I want. I go in there strategic. Although but the thing I love about Trader Joe's is like, they're just quirky, fun. Like the names of the products are hilarious, and you just like you find something new. Whereas, in Citarella, I know exactly what I'm going to get. I'm getting the same thing every time. Trader Joe's, I walk out with 10 products I'd never heard of before I walked in the store.
Trader Joe's is specializing in high-calorie hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah. And also, I'm obsessed with like all the dessert options.
See, I have to stay complete. I'm much bigger than you. I have to stay away from that. So.
I don't think you're much bigger than me.
How did you decide to marry a chef, though?
I did not decide to marry a chef. I had serious other plans. And when I met my husband, I was at a bar on the East Side, and he was with a friend of mine who works in the business. And I met him. I thought, this guy's cool. I really didn't know what he did when I first met him. And then, we exchanged numbers, tried to like hook up, and he spent the entire summer ignoring me. And I was like, what is up with this guy? And then we would chat with me and then ignore me. And I could never get him to meet up with me. And then finally, I had a client of mine who booked a big movie. She wanted to go out and play pool. His friend that we met through was the only person I knew who knows how to play pool. So I invited him. We hung out, and I thought, this is it. This is it. I'm reeling in this guy. And then the next day I asked one of my friends who I brought out that same night, and she was like, oh yeah, I met that guy. He's great. We're going to go on a date. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm getting the wrong impression. And then I talked to one of my guy friends who was also there, and he was like, yeah, that guy's great. We're going to go on a date. And I'm like, what? And it turns out he was only interested in me. And it turns out that he didn't want to date me, or was nervous to date me because he thought that I was bougie. And he was.
You give that vibe.
I don't mean to. I really don't, because I'm not.
Well, you can't wear those glasses and say
these
you're
are
not
from
bougie.
Warby Parker. They're not fancy.
They're fancy.
They're just big, and I like them big because you can't see the rim. But yeah, so he was a line
The fact
cook
that
at the
Warby
time.
Parker not being bougie is like completely out of the question.
Well, it's not expensive. It's not expensive.
Thank you.
And that is bougie. So like to think that,
but the standard is here.
Yeah, the standard. Yeah, the standard is like if I'm wearing Hermes glasses, then I'm bougie.
Yeah, that's definitely bougie.
For
and
sure.
I don't have any Hermes glasses.
You should.
If you want to, if maybe they want to send them to me now, if they hear this.
I feel confident that they won't hear it. And secondly, if they did, they're not really caring about me.
Or me. So.
Or you. And so, yeah, but if we were a Kardashian, maybe.
Yeah, maybe that would be nice.
I think New York coming up professionally, starting to date, these are difficult things.
Yeah. I mean, because living in New York is so hard that you're so busy trying to pay your rent and figure out like where food is coming from that you don't really have time for the rest of it.
Yeah. The dating itself can cost. See, I don't know how dating culture works in the gay community.
We don't either.
But in ours, it could cost a guy thousands of dollars a month.
Yeah, no, I think there's just a general, like, we're sort of splitting everything in the beginning. Unless there's an obvious pay disparity, then like you're sort of like, I'm going to pay for this because I can.
Right.
And
so when you have two professionals, it's just, makes sense.
I don't think anyone goes into, and listen, this is not to say anything about I have no idea how heterosexual relationships dating goes, but I don't think there's any sort of expectation that someone else is going to pay. You kind of have to like go knowing that you're going to at least cover yourself.
There is definitely an expectation on the heterosexual side. Yeah, definitely. And also like, I think it's kind of low class if you start rolling like Chris making girls pay. Yeah.
Whoa, Chris.
Whoa, dude. You're not putting that on me in any world. That's one thing I actually do.
Do you?
Yeah, I
Good for
pay
you,
for dates
Chris.
like
Do
in
you?
full. Yeah.
I thought you were
Because
poor.
I hate the
I thought you were
conversation
poor.
of it. I was. Were past tense.
So you just didn't date
No,
when you
even
were poor?
then I paid because I just hated even the thought of the
The
conversation.
thought of it?
Yeah.
What about like, so if she said like, hey, let's totally split this, you'd be fine with it.
Yeah, I wouldn't like fight that either, but
Yeah.
I'm just putting the card down.
Right.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
going first.
Yeah.
I
And
think
if the
you
second
should,
card comes, no fight.
I think you should always, even if the other person puts their card in first, you should offer. Like the other person should
Yeah,
say,
you should
like,
talk
that's
to
a-
all the girls that
yeah.
I go on dates with because they don't think that.
well,
they don't
ladies,
think
I
that
think
at
if
all.
you can, you should offer.
So I have all these students that come to New York, men, women, straight, gay,
Yeah.
all the varieties. And like, I think that's an under talked about experience, like, because it can be incredibly lonely here in New York. I mean,
Yeah.
I think so. Whenever you see people meet and find happiness, it's kind of an exciting thing for everybody else, or they just hate on it.
No, I think we all like we love it when somebody like it's hard to find someone in the city. You think, oh, because there's so many options, there's so many people. Sometimes that makes things even harder.
How does your professional development follow this path living in New York? Like, how did you start to see opportunities?
For work?
Yeah.
So I went to college for theater, and I quickly realized that it wasn't for me. I remember saying to my one professor, I was like, I've made a mistake, and this is not what I want to do. And what can we do about it? Because I love this school. I made great friends, and I love being a part of the theater world, but I just don't like being on stage. And I really don't like the rejection part. So
Yeah.
if we could avoid that, what could we do?
Yeah. Your nose is too big. Your nose is too small.
Yeah, there's a lot
Your
of
ears
factors that
stick
go
out
into
too
things
much.
that like actors just have to deal with. And I was like, I just can't. I don't have the constitution for this.
Yeah.
And so one of my professors was like, well, let's figure out what you want to do in the business. And so he created an independent study for me. Each semester, I got to explore a different aspect of entertainment business and get credit for it. So I had a class where it was like writing for television class. And then where I ultimately ended up, I did a class where I studied what it's like to be an agent.
Mhm.
And that's a really hard thing to do because there really aren't there aren't even books about how to be an agent or how to be a talent manager. I didn't even know what a talent manager was. And so I was reading all the books that were available, and I discovered that like in my process of just being me at college, I was a bigger voice for my friends' talent than I certainly was for my own in any way. So I just quickly realized, I was like, well, this is something I can do. Like I think I can recognize talent and I can speak for it and I can celebrate it. And so that's what I figured out I wanted to do. I said, I want to be an agent. And then I got a little sidetracked after college because I wanted to travel the world and I didn't have any money and I don't like backpacks.
Yeah.
So I
well,
was
and
like,
he's kind of bougie, so you can't hostel from hostel.
yeah, well, yeah. So I quickly realized that wasn't the move for me. And I got a job working on a cruise ship. And I started out as a cruise staff and worked my way up to cruise director and did that for 3 years, sailed the world.
So was the cruise ship the Holland America cruise ship, or was it the Love Boat on TV?
It
Right.
was, so that's the thing is, I worked for Holland America for 3+ years, loved it. It's an incredible line. And I remember a guy came on and he said, hey, my mom is single. She's going through a divorce. What can you do for her? And I said to him, I was like, listen, this is not the Love Boat. We don't really do that. But I'm not going to lie. I'm going to meet 1,200 people this week. So if I meet someone, I'd be more than happy to make an introduction. And I ended up not finding something for his mom, but he ended up having such a great time in the whole process of it that he later joined the company and became a cruise director himself.
So I have a dream of becoming a matchmaker myself.
Yeah.
So like, we could probably put together a show on a cruise ship in this regard. Like,
Yes.
Like that would be an interesting experience so I want to, Love is Blind where they don't see each
Yeah,
other.
of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to go with both of them and decide who gets married. And then they have to get married without ever talking to each other.
I mean, that's pretty scary.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
yeah,
that's it.
Although
I think I'm that good at it. I could be that good.
Listen, I respect that. Like, if you're good at putting matches together, that's great. But I also feel like it takes a certain kind of psyche to put yourself on a show like that to just agree that some person who you don't know is going to arrange your marriage.
Like, who do you think goes on Love is Blind anyway?
I don't know. We have a weird relationship with, I don't want to say celebrity or being on television in this country. I feel like, so I don't want to speak to that, but I will say you certainly have to have a lot of faith in other people that you're going to be portrayed in the way that you'd like to be.
So my belief is that, like, you can basically find a pair anywhere if you orientate it properly.
Yes. I mean, listen, I throw dinner parties all the time. I love to make little connections.
How many people come to your dinner parties?
It depends. I mean, we'll have anywhere from like 6 to, going past the dinner party level to like a backyard barbecue, like 75.
That's a lot of people. You can fit that many people on the Upper West Side?
Yeah, we have a little garden in the back, and then there's space in our apartment. I will say that there's no room to move around if there's 75 people.
Right.
And it's on a flow. So like sometimes it's people coming in and out. But I'm lucky.
So you time them.
Well, sometimes I just say,
you have
like,
windows.
You
like,
come at 5.
Come at 5.
Yeah.
Chris can come at 2. You can come at 5.
Yeah, you got to stagger it a little bit.
I was thinking about doing a party like that soon.
Yeah, you got to do it.
Yeah, at the lake. So I'm have this 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And that's how much I like you.
Well, listen.
Like, we can organize it by rank.
Yeah, you don't want the people to find out then.
Well, I was kind of thinking that's kind of the best part.
Or, you can just do it fairly. Like, people are going to be the people that leave early. You invite them first. People that are going to stay till you actually ask them to leave, you can invite them later.
We used to have this great Halloween party in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Okay.
And we would have to, there was a cigarette company that would just bring a bunch of cigarette, like Marlboro, it was weird. North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Like, cigarettes are everywhere. And so there would be trays of cigarettes. And we had a band come one year in my living room, and they absolutely wouldn't leave. So at 4 a.m., we were finally here's all the cigarettes, now go. And that was the payment.
You had cigarette-sponsored parties?
Yeah. It was a good one. So we themed it out Dukes of Hazzards, and then the host didn't go with the theme. So it was a good party.
Okay. And you get a gift bag with cigarettes on your way out.
Yeah, everyone got cigarettes on the way in, but then there were trays of them just loitered around because we had this German friend who worked at the cigarette factory, and he got free cigarettes.
Listen, if you can have a party and send people home with a gift, they love that.
Nobody ever complained. And in fact, after I left Greensboro, they kept calling around October, "Hey, are you having your party?"
Yeah, you got to stock up on your cigarettes.
You could get a whole year. No, they kept going up in price too.
Yeah.
So you spent that early time building out as a cruise director. What were the when I talk to students at a young age like that?
Yeah.
It's only your first job, right?
Yeah.
You're adding skills. You're trying to do different things.
Yeah.
Chris started as a battle rapper. That was his first.
That's impressive.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's got to start somewhere.
Yeah. I didn't think to start there, but now something
You started with rap podcast though, right?
To some extent. I did an internship at a company that shall not be named because they're one of my mortal enemies now. So it was a free internship, and they were like, "Oh, we'll do this joint page or whatever at the end of it." Yeah, which I should have known, but I was desperate, dude. At the time, I was desperate. So, even just working there, I knew I would have had a lot more credibility walking out of it. So I was like, we'll see how much we could get. And then agreed to do it. 2 hours after we had the meeting, he was like, "Hey, enjoyed working with you. We're going to go our separate ways or whatever." And I was like, "You want to, okay. But you want to give me some context for why?" And he was like, just wasn't feeling it. And that guy is one of my sworn enemies.
I mean, I respect that. I'd like to have his name and number.
Yeah. Skills.
Yeah. And we do a lot in the beginning because we don't know.
For sure.
You don't know where to go, and you're willing to take opportunities wherever they come.
And so what kind of skills did you pick up in that space?
Well, when I first started, like I like talking to people. I mean, I do.
I can tell.
No, I do.
Yeah, it's
it's my
good.
husband makes fun
it
of me.
easy.
Like, we're like at a bar or something. He'll say to me, like, if he's like, we'll have dinner at the bar, and he'll say to me, like, can you not do your thing? I'm like, what thing? And then he's like, you're going to talk to people. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then next thing I know, the people next to me, I'm like going to their kid's birthday party.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that. And when I first got on the ship, they said to me, like, during this, every day from 5 to 7, we need you to walk around these lounges and talk to people. And I'm like, that's it? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, oh, and buy them drinks. On the company. I was like,
you're really twisting my arm here.
I walk around, I buy them drinks. So, well, you get a drink for yourself too. I'm like, wait, hold up.
This is the greatest job I ever heard.
My job is I
of.
wander around and talk to people, which I'm going to do anyway, and then buy them drinks and then drinks for myself. So like these people are already loving me. I'm giving them drinks. I'm buying myself a drink. And then they said to me, but don't ever pick up your drink and move to another table. And I thought, oh, because it's Rocky and I could fall and spill my drink. They're like, no, because it's not classy. Like the waiter will come over and take your drink and move to the next table wherever you go. I did not know that. I thought it was about me falling down.
Did you fall down a lot?
No, I never fell down. I mean, it gets rocky and stuff, but like, it was just it's a crazy job to have. And like,
was it a lot of fun?
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. People always said to me like, how long are you going to do this? I say, till it stops being fun. And you realize though quickly that you're always on somebody else's vacation. And that gets hard because you want to make sure they have a great vacation, but also at the same time, you're missing people. Like at one point I was like, I just want to buy throw pillows or a couch. That's all I want to do.
So like sometimes you're in your own dream.
Yeah.
And when you realize you're in someone else's dream,
yes,
it's not so fun.
No, you're in someone else's dream every day, desperately trying to make them happy. And some of them cannot be made happy. And then, also it's real. So like if you live there and you're working there, you date someone, you're automatically living with them.
Right.
Everyone else knows your shit. If someone leaves your cabin that wasn't the person you're dating, everybody sees that. I can't tell you how many, I won't say,
we won't.
People on board who like had wives and things that when they weren't on board, like they had girlfriends and everyone on the ship knew it. And it also like things start to get real in a way that you're not prepared for. Like people die all the time and you're just not ready for that.
What do you mean people die all the time?
People die on cruises all the time because think about it. You're going to take, anywhere from like 1,200 people up, and especially on cruise lines that are more expensive and are longer. So you're doing a 15-day Mediterranean cruise. It's expensive. So people older are usually taking them. People have time off. And I will tell you that we used to have, when we get the manifest, we'd look at people's ages. And if there was a certain amount of people above a certain age, we'd have a nurse on the gangway as you came on board to try to figure out how many we were going to lose during the cruise. And here's the thing people don't know about is there is a morgue on board the ship. People are like, why is there a morgue? I'm like, because we have to put the body somewhere. We don't just leave it in a chair until it's time to So we only have 4 spots in the morgue.
Did you have an embalmer?
No, because all they do is
just ice.
They just get.
I know more about the funeral industry than most.
Yeah, no, we don't embalm because what we do is you just get put into the morgue, and then in the next port, the body has to go off.
Okay, and then they're shipped. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, and then someone from the family has to go off with the body and do the paperwork and stuff. And I can't tell you how many times, because for some reason this is part of my job, is to tell the people, we're going to let him off in this port. Grandpa's going off, and we need you to, go off. Someone from the family has to go off, and they're like, they would fight with each other. Like, Grandpa would want me to stay and enjoy the cruise. I'm like, what's wrong with you people? Grandpa's dead. Get off this cruise. Your fun is over.
I got to call my sister after this. I got to find out if we ever had people die on. So we've owned a funeral home.
I did not know that.
So that's my family business. So I got to call my sister and find out who's died on a cruise in the past.
I mean, it happens.
It's probably happened.
It happens. And people also don't know if we have a 5th body, there's only 4 spots in the morgue. And I'd heard this rumor that I thought it was a rumor. And one day the hotel manager knocks on my office door and he said, Kyle, I need you to make an announcement. And I said, why? He goes, well, we're having an emergency ice cream extravaganza. And I went,
Oh, to clean out the, yeah.
Yeah, and I said, no, I've planned a perfect day because everything is designed on a cruise ship to get you to spend money. Like trivia's over here because we're having daiquiri sales right next to it. Or we need you to walk by the shop, so we're going to have this activity over here. So it's all strategic. And I'm not throwing in an ice cream party. And the hotel manager looks me right in the eye and he goes, Kyle, emergency. And the light went off and I'm like, oh my God. So I have to make an announcement, like trying to sound like we're having this exciting surprise ice cream party. I'm like, ladies and gentlemen, join us on the deck for hot fudge and sprinkles. And meanwhile, it's like, because there's another body.
Yeah, and we need the cooler space.
Yeah.
One man's death is another man's dessert.
Yeah, there you go.
That's right.
You can put that on a t-shirt.
I would have used that.
You put that on a t-shirt. So you're, just to context, you're 24, 25 years old.
I was younger. I started when I was 22.
Wow.
22.
And so...
and these people would like give their vacation over to me. I don't know why.
I used to have a hockey coach that was 19 and he used to skate us till we puked and our parents had no problem with that. So, I mean, when we found out he was 19, we were kind of mortified. We were adults, right? And
yeah.
we were like, why would you let him do that?
I mean, if it was working.
We won a lot of games.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Yeah, we won a lot of games.
Yeah.
So as you do an activity like that, what were you thinking about with your career, right? Because you're saying, hey, I'm in college. I know I don't want to be an actor, but I want to be in entertainment. I'm going to go do this. Holland America.
Yeah, I had done a short internship at a small agency in New York just for a couple months in the summer. And I had said to them at the end of it, I said, so let me just see if I got this straight. Like, we take these young people, we sign them right out of school. The idea is we get them booked in like their first big Broadway show. Then they leave this company and go to bigger companies. And they were like, yeah. I'm like, well, that sounds like a terrible business model. I don't think I want to do that. And so when I was working on the ship and time was coming to an end, that I was like, okay, I really need to figure out what I want to do with my life. And there's some of my friends are still on board those ships, and God love them. Like some people, that's the life that they choose for. I knew it wasn't for me. I needed a couch that didn't move. I needed a place that was in the same place every time I came back to it. And so I came to New York, and a friend of mine said, like, you should really look into becoming a talent manager. It's different than an agent.
Can you explain that?
Well, yeah. So, and listen, this question has had different answers over time since I've been doing it. But I think the cellular level, your agent's job is to get you opportunities, like to get you auditions, to get you meetings in order to get you work. And the manager's job is to help you decide what work you want to be doing and saying like, hey, at this point in your career, we should be looking at this. Or we've done this 4 times. Let's make a left turn and try this. The manager's like a little more involved in the day-to-day of everything that's going on. And then as your team begins to grow, you might have multiple agents. You might have a TV agent and a feature agent and a book agent and a directing agent. And then you may have a stylist and a publicist and a lawyer. And so the manager sort of becomes the person who tries to get everyone to work together. So
the hub.
Yeah, I think eventually, yeah, at some point.
If you're really successful, the manager becomes the hub. It becomes the extension of you.
I like to say that like it's your company and you've sort of hired me to be the CEO.
Yeah. And see, this is one of the core concepts of why we started this and where, first off, none of the actors believe they're entrepreneurs. None of them. They all are.
Absolutely. Especially now. It wasn't the same way 20 years ago.
Yeah, but it was still the business of them.
It was still the business, but now there's so much more business to it. It's not just...
Explain that.
Well, the business has changed a lot. And, you have to diversify, I think, as any kind of entrepreneur. But as actors, things are going to come your way in terms of endorsement deals or brand partnerships, or, you might want to start your own line of something, or you might want to use what you're doing right now to sort of push into another aspect of your career. You might be like, hey, I was always fascinated with cooking, and now I'm going to like put together a cooking show. I might host it. Like, we saw I can't remember the guy who's like the host of the Lego show. Will Arnett. He took that and like, he's like fascinated by Lego. So he created his own Lego. Like, that's so cool. And I think that actors nowadays need to realize that there's only so much acting available. There's only so many projects available. And, with the economy being what it is, we take less chance on independent film. Like I used to work in independent film at my first company, and like I used to say to people, and I'm going to deny having said this, even though here it is.
Yeah.
I said, putting money in independent film is like putting your money in a slot machine that's not plugged in.
That's fair. Or like a boat.
Yeah. Like
it's just going to cost you money.
It's going to cost you money. And like a friend of mine was like, I want to put money in this film. And it was a film I was producing. And I said to him, I was like, okay, that's great. I just want you to know there's like 0 chance of you making this money back. And he was like, right, but could I say I'm a producer if I give you the money? I'm like, well, you could just say that anyway. Like no one's going to know. And I said, but sure.
But we'll take the money.
Yeah. And I took the money, and, we actually took the film to Slamdance and we sold it and actually made money. He did make his money back, but that's rare. Yeah. And so, I think that we make less independent film now. We do. And like studios make less of when you think about the 80s, the movies that we made then. We don't make those anymore.
No, and just even comedies. We don't make comedies.
We don't make as many comedies anymore. And we don't make those like cool rom-coms that we were making before. Like it's all tentpole projects. It's all,
it's not worth doing a $50 to $100 million project.
Awards films and tentpole projects. And I saw a really great indie film the other day that was Julia Stiles' first directing thing. And I have no idea what the budget was, and I guess Lionsgate is distributing it. But it was one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. And I cried for like the last hour.
Really?
Yeah. A friend of mine was like, are you going to go to the party after? I'm like, I cannot go to the party. I literally have to go put myself back together after seeing this film. And like, I just don't feel like we make a lot of those films anymore. Like these small.
I feel like I went to a party with her once, and like she started dancing. It was interesting. Julia Stiles is an interesting person.
Very cool chick. Very impressed by her. Like,
really?
Very much so.
Why?
She just there's a way to go about things that like sort of is there's like a path we sort of try to steer you on that that is how we think it's going to go. And I always tell actors, I say, listen, we can make a plan, but I say, if you ever want to make God laugh, make a plan.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't mean you don't have one.
Yeah.
It just means that you have to be prepared to like make changes.
That's the same as an entrepreneur.
And her career has not been cookie cutter. She has not just done things in a certain way. And the fact that she decided to direct this such a cool piece, and I heard like the way that the story came to her, and she was just like, I want to tell this story, and I don't want to be in, I want to direct it. Like that's just such a cool thing, and I think when an actor can use who they are to help get a story made that maybe wouldn't have gotten made before, I think that's awesome.
Have you seen Blink Twice?
No, I've not.
Have you seen it yet? Oh, I don't, must see.
I'm not as scary.
It's not scary.
It's not scary?
I mean, so I suspect the reason that it didn't have a big push behind it is because the Puff Daddy stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, P. Diddy, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Like, so the topical as a date rape drug is the issue. But no, it's not scary. It's a thriller, and at the end, it's epic. But it's not a horror. It's not scary. It's more drama.
Okay, I don't mind that.
And it's good. It's really good.
Okay,
so,
I will watch it now because you told me to.
Channing Tatum is outstanding as the bad guy.
Oh.
And
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it on the plane over. You should watch it. Just to not do that.
I have a serious question.
Don't do that when you're famous.
Okay.
Do you guys ever feel like when you're watching a film on a plane that you are more emotional than you might be watching it at home?
I'm more emotional about everything on a plane. I rarely watch movies, but like I like to write a lot on planes. Like I like to work.
So someone told me this recently that men are more emotional on planes.
I cry all the time. So
yeah,
home or on the plane.
I'm not really a crier.
No, but you don't notice? You don't have any sort of uptick up there?
I watch a lot more movies on planes.
Yeah.
So I'd say 95% of all movie consumption I have is on a plane. No, I mean, yeah, it's tough. Like, also, if you eat like 80 milligrams of gummies in San Francisco and get on the plane, then you really are emotional.
I'm having some Jack Daniels, but that's my version of that.
Especially when they first started having legal cannabis in California, right? Yeah. You'd fly in and you'd go get some.
Yeah.
And you're like sitting on the plane. You get to the airport and then you're like, do I throw this away or do I eat it all? That was all.
Also, I was like, well, I just bought it.
Yeah,
like, why
that's what I said one time. And then I ate it. And then I sat on the plane on the tarmac freaking out. And then from that moment on, I throw it away.
Wait, you ate it before you went through security?
Yeah, because like I thought, you couldn't get it through security.
That must have been a really fun experience.
Oh, it was horrifying.
How much are we talking?
Like 80
Yeah,
minutes.
Wow.
That'll do you.
I
That'll
didn't
do
know.
you, dude.
I didn't know.
Wow.
Who knew? This was like a new thing in the world.
Yeah, you're about to see the new
The
things.
poor
in the
flight
world.
attendant was like, what is wrong with
and
this
I'm just
guy?
like sweating, sitting there, like
She
You
thinks
we're
look like you're
stuck.
smuggling it, but it's already consumed.
Yeah.
She's like, this guy definitely has some kind of communicable disease. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know.
what's
Yeah.
his problem? Yeah, no,
Yeah.
just that was I suspect, and like everybody at TSA at the time in San Francisco was like, they definitely could tell, right? Like they're
Yeah.
like, oh, look at these people coming through.
See, if I was the TSA worker, I'd be like, listen, please do not eat all your weed.
Yeah.
It's
Just
fine.
throw it away. Yeah, like,
Throw it away, or like just fine.
Just keep it in
We're
your
not
pocket.
looking for that.
yeah.
We're looking for giant tubes of toothpaste or cleanser that we're going to take away from you.
This time they got my Dracar Noir cologne.
Wow, that's
I'm
a
like-
throwback.
Yeah. So they do it in London. They yank it. I'm like, ah. And so my buddy who was with me, he's like, it would be great if you get some jupe. You're the right
now
age to talk to us
yes,
about.
that.
So we go up the stairs in London, and right there it is, dead center of the aisle. The first thing you see, jupe. So
I
I'm
didn't
like,
even.
spray it on.
Okay.
Every time I moved, the rest of the day, thrown back to 1994.
100%.
Like,
Yeah, I remember like in high school, like all the hot guys wore Dracar.
yeah,
And like I went to private school, so like
Still wearing
everyone had
it.
to wear ties. So you'd like
Yeah.
spray your tie with it. So
Yeah.
it smelled like the whole day.
yeah, of course.
It's fascinating. I'm like one of those people that like I'm obsessed with scents bringing you back to a time that you.
Well, it's because scents are triggered by
Yeah.
our memories.
Yeah.
That's absolutely the case.
I used to like burn a certain incense like
That's
when I was
science.
studying and stuff.
Yeah, that's science.
I told my roommate that I was like, listen, you need to like have a scent while you're studying, and his problem was that he would drink like 2 6-packs while he was studying with the scent, so it didn't really help, and he would still fail the test. But I was like,
Either that or you got to get drunk. As drunk taking
Yeah.
the test as you were studying.
well, yeah, you know how like this is
I
gonna
do
sound
know.
terrible. There was a girl in college who never knew who I was unless we were at a party and we were both drunk, and then she was like my best friend. But then I would see her on campus at other times, and she would have no idea who I was.
Sounds like you're just describing a girl.
Yeah. That's every relationship.
I mean, maybe I think there is an aspect of like a level of drunk where you remember things that you don't remember when you're sober.
Were you out in college?
Yeah, in college I was.
Yeah. Was it challenging for you?
No, I mean, what's weird is I went to a very Catholic school.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
Yeah, where'd you go?
Mount St. Charles Academy in
Oh.
Woonsocket, Rhode Island.
Oh, I went to DeSales University in
Oh,
Allentown.
college, yeah.
But it was called Allentown College.
Yeah.
Well, I also went to a Catholic high school too, DePaul
Yeah.
in New Jersey. And I was not out then.
Okay.
Well,
that's like it's a little too early. Like it's kids aren't nice.
no, and I don't think I was
Especially that
fooling
age.
anybody.
Yeah, right.
I mean, my best friend, she used to ask me all the time, she's like, are you sure you're not gay? And I'm like, I'm not gay. And one time, and I hope she hears this. She was by far the hottest girl in high school. And we were at we were down the shore in Jersey. You went down the shore.
Yeah, I've been.
And she just decided, she just kissed me out of nowhere. And then she was like, anything? And I was like, no. And I think in her mind, she was like, well, if that doesn't do it. Because
Yeah,
I was like, well, yeah, I think so too. And then I went to college shortly thereafter that. And this is going to sound like I'm making this up, but when I got to college, I kissed my very first boy at a party. And the next day, one of my friends came up to me and she was like, I heard you kissed this guy last night. People are saying you're gay. Don't let them tell you who you are. And I was like, oh no, I'm gay.
I'm gay.
I was,
No, I'm gonna
that
tell them.
worked.
once that happened, I was like, nope,
No,
this is
that's
it. This is definitely
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's so people of our age, so kids today, I don't think understand what it was like to be our age and be different. It's just different is different now, right? Like, and so the way we would have treated you in high school, it would have been, we would have treated you as someone else, someone different.
Yeah, I
Instead
think
of
about
just-
that a lot actually. And I wonder how true that is. I wonder how much of it was in my own head. I wonder how much of it, like I do think everyone knew.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone was shocked. And I don't know that they would have treated, like I had a lot of friends in high school. Like it wasn't like I was treated poorly. I mean, I think everyone knew and just sort of let me go on my own little journey. There was a guy who was a year older than me who had a party, like spent 10 minutes trying to explain to me that I was gay, and I was just not having it. And I truly wish that like I was paying more attention in that moment, because I think that guy was trying to help me.
Right.
And I was just not having it. So I do wonder what it would be like now to be in a space that would feel open, that you could do that.
That is the difference, right? I mean, I think how you feel included.
Yeah. If you feel like you're safe, like if you feel it's safe to say this, if you feel it's safe to let people know who you are, and you know, your parents and your family and what your grandmother's gonna think. Yeah. And what's funny is my grandma from Hell's Kitchen, Irish woman, scary as all get out, said fuck more than she said hello. And when she met my husband for the first time, she actually apologized for swearing in front of him. I was so shocked. I ran to my mother. She goes, "You're kidding." I go, "No, Grandma just apologized for swearing in front of Ash." So my grandmother could not have been more accepting, but like I was convinced that she was going to freak out.
Yeah, for sure. But that's all in our own heads, right?
It is. And, you know, I mean, don't get me wrong. There are scary elements about being gay. Like, you know, you don't know. You don't know who's going to not accept you and who's going to freak out, or, you know, who's going to be coming home from a bar one night or just had a few too many and they decide like this is an easy target. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, you do get scared. You know, when I was younger, I would go into bars with my straight friends and be like, is this the day that like something gets, you know, so I would be nervous. So I wonder what that is like now, if the people still have those fears, because I do think there's plenty of people out there that are not accepting and are more than, It's actually probably more polarized now. I mean, right now, I would say absolutely yes. You know, I think so. Thanks for sharing. I think people forget like the human experience is part of everything. Yeah. Like, and we all have different experiences. So going back to that manager versus agent, how did you know you were a manager though? How did that person say? Like, so I also, what was told to me was that like managers could produce and agents couldn't produce. And to me, I was like, well, I want to produce. Like, I definitely want to do that. I didn't know at the time really what that even meant, but it sounded really cool to me. It does sound cool. I'm with you. I'm in the same boat. And I was like, sounds okay, cool. So I definitely want to do that. And they were like, and you know, if you are a manager, you can produce projects with and for your clients, which is all true. And you still can to this day. At a certain level, that doesn't really mean anything. You know, when I was first starting out, like I wasn't producing anything. I didn't have any money. I didn't know how to do any of that. But my first job was this woman. This is my second interview. And this is super weird, but my now sister-in-law turned down that job that I ended up taking. And I didn't know her then. Right, that's weird. So weird. And I knew her, but then she ended up she's married to my brother-in-law. And I didn't know my husband. Like, it was just a weird connection. But she turned down this job. I took it. And I worked for this woman who had seriously cool clients. Liza Clone-Zayas, David Zayas, like these actors that I was like an utter respect for. And so I took this job not knowing anything. And when I tell you that it was the worst year and a half of my life, this woman like treated me like absolute garbage. She called me fat faggot every day, which is why I lost like 40 pounds while I worked there. That's a good nickname. Yeah. And that's a pretty good nickname if you lose 40 pounds. Yeah. I mean, that's what happened. I lost 40 pounds. David? I looked great. Yeah. You can start calling me that. That's fine. I'll take it. And she tortured me and she just like belittled me. But I thought to myself, this is how you make it. You have to like go through this swimming with the sharks moment. We all did. Yeah. I had the most abusive boss in New York when I was first a lawyer. And I thought, this is just what you do. Yeah. And then it is what you did. She took handfuls of pills every day. She drank tequila like it was water. And like I just figured this is entertainment. That's what I thought. And then after the end of my year and a half, she tried to leave the planet early and left her body for me to find. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, you did it. Yeah, I was like, well, I made it through this. She was laying in her bed. Did you save her? I did save her. Wow. I know. Old. She was 58 at the time. Wow. Yeah, and she wrapped her legs in the American flag. I know, and I laugh about it now because you have to. But how traumatized were you in the moment? I was super traumatized. And we worked out of her apartment and she had this locked on the door that I didn't have a key to and was coming back after the Christmas New Year break where we all take 2 weeks in the entertainment business. And I came back, I couldn't open the door and I thought, well, she's not ready to work, then neither am I. And I had to bring her the paper every day. So I was reading the paper. Clients started calling saying, where are you? And my best friend called and she said, why aren't you in the office yet? And I was like, I don't know. The door's locked. I don't know what's going on there. My best friend, she's like a little witchy. And she was like, I'm coming there right now. And we had to get a locksmith to open the door. And we opened the door and it was like a railroad apartment. And I look all the way in and there she is. All I can see is her body wrapped in the American flag. And the phone on my desk was right there in like the foyer and I called 911 on speakerphone. And I was like, hi, I just arrived at work and I think my boss is dead. And they were like, okay. And I'm like, yeah, she's all the way in the back and I think she's dead. And they're like, well, is she breathing? And I was far away and I said, well, I don't know. And they're like, sir, we need to know if she's breathing. And I was like, okay, hold. So I put them on hold.
So I go over to the dead bitch.
And like my best friend's with me. And then we walk by the back and I see that like she's got a jar of pills she's crushed up and like the yogurt and the vodka and this whole thing. And there's a book about Princess Di and a book about JFK on the bed and all this crazy ass stuff. And like going through my mind at the moment, I have to admit, my first thoughts were like, oh my God, she's dead. And like now this is going to define me.
I gotta get a new job.
Yeah, this is gonna be who I am in the business, is this guy who found his boss and anyway, so
way to make it about yourself.
I was thinking about myself. And then I look at the suicide. She left the suicide note for me, which I keep to this day in my desk drawer. It's a reminder of like where I've come. And she had a suicide contact list. It was like this person, half brother, this person, bank manager. And then it said, Kyle Luker, associate / friend, ? I'm like, she's insulting me on the suicide contact list. Like, this is so up.
So she must have been a friend.
Yeah, she must have been a friend.
I got like...
Was she grateful you saved her?
For about like a day. She was in a coma for 6 weeks, and I went every single day because I had Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, of course. I'm aware.
I didn't know. I didn't know. Like,
because you're only what, 26, 27 at this point.
Yeah. And I had no idea what I was dealing with. And
so for all of our students and young adults, like, your job could be worse.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty terrible. But I will say, after it happened, and I discovered, one of the reasons why she had embezzled from some of the clients and didn't have the money to pay back and all this stuff. So I had to start my career sort of over, and these very kind people offered me a job at their company. And the entire community in New York rallied behind me. Agents who I barely knew were reaching out to me saying, how can I help? And the Actors Fund like gave me free therapy. And it was, I have to say, it was like sort of going from like a really bad experience in entertainment and thinking like, this is what it is, to then seeing how people rallied around me to help me.
Isn't it interesting after having that experience, how you can see, oh, work doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
That's an eye-opening experience.
100%. And I try to treat my assistants now well and never like that. Like, I never wanted to treat anyone half as bad as that woman treated me. Like, it's just.
Do you come up with good nicknames for them though?
No. And no. And
could that be like our job here? Like, we'll come up with nicknames for your assistants.
I think about the things that she would say to me then. I was like, there was no HR to call, but like I would have been in HR's office every day, like now. And yeah, so it was a pretty but I was lucky that I went to go to another company where we did make independent film as well. Unfortunately, what we did there was we had a management side of the company and a production side of the company, and we really didn't manage anyone who was at a level that it made sense to produce a movie for them. So the two sides really didn't work well together now.
So where you're at now, fast forward to today, I mean, it's an exciting group of actors.
Yeah.
You got a couple of my favorites.
Thank you.
Yeah. Why, how do you think about who you manage? Because it's not just who's available.
No, not at all. I mean, and I have made some mistakes, Mike. I've passed on some people that I wanted to, pretty well famous people, but it's a real relationship. It's not no offense to my agents friends. I have a lot of friends in agency, and it's a little bit of a different situation. Like they have a lot more clients. They have to they're responsible for so many different actors and their careers, and it's like a bigger volume situation. Whereas I only have 18 people, and so I'm going to be involved in all aspects of what they need me to be involved in, and I have time for that because I have less people. And so I want to know that people I'm working with are people that I'm inspired by, inspired to talk about every day, to get on the phone and be like, this person you got to see this person for this job. Or, we'd love to do something like this. Or how do we work with you? Like this person is someone you want to be in business with, and get excited. And people often ask me like, well, how do you decide who you're going to work with? Like, and I say, listen, a lot of referrals. A cast director will call me, or an agent will call me, or an executive, or someone say, I worked with this person. I have a director friend of mine who's always calling me saying, I just worked with this person. You got to meet them. But I say to people, I'm like, it's like shoe shopping. If you're out shopping, you're probably already wearing shoes. So you don't need any shoes. But then you walk into a store and you see a pair of shoes and you have to have them. It's just like that.
Okay.
And I have to know that I like them, and I want to be able to, and I think that I can help. Like if I don't think I can help, I'm not trying to jump in and just take money from somebody. I want to know that I'm going to be an active participant, and that I'm going to help you reach further goals, and that I'm going to want to be doing that the whole time. And if I think that I can do all those things and it's a right fit, then that's when I jump in.
True or false, Netflix screwed up the Jessica Jones ending.
Wow.
I've watched every episode. And I've watched it. I've watched the shows, and then I've watched them in the chronological order. I've got books on everything.
Obviously, huge fan of Jessica Jones.
You couldn't not be, right?
I mean, sometimes a client does something that, like, at the end of the day, you're like, well, I don't know if I loved that, but you don't know how everything project's going to turn out.
I think the character is amazing.
The character from day one, when I knew that this was a possibility, she tells this story how I didn't pitch it very well to her. I was like, she's this superhero, but it's like funny because she's like not good at it. And she was like in a funny way. I'm like, no, she's not like, well, I mean, like, sometimes she doesn't. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, she's not the best superhero. So I didn't pitch it well, but I was a huge fan of the character. I'm a big Marvel fan. Grew up reading Marvel comics. Storm was always my favorite. I don't know how I didn't know I was gay.
Yeah,
I mean,
we got
it's pretty much right there.
Yeah.
But
it has to be just a denial component.
I think that, first of all, Netflix took a big swing by trying to make those Marvel shows. Marvel was at a point where they were just sort of getting really into the TV space. And so I think everyone was kind of a little like unsure about how it was going to work, and were these characters tied into the MCU and how all that was going to be. And so I think that there was a lot of different things going on. And then I can't speak to the exact ending, but I will say the way that the shows ended on Netflix wasn't really Netflix's fault, because
it was
basically, it was pulled out,
and they did a poor job with it when they pulled it out. You can't say that, but I can say it. When they pulled it out, they had a set of TV shows worth watching and making.
Yeah.
And now we get Loki, and I'm like, this is not like the depth of the characters in that. In the Netflix run was epic in my opinion.
No, it was. And we were seeing something really different. We were seeing something darker, and we were really
realer.
Sure. We were really investing into who these characters were. They had powers, and like they were superheroes, but like they had rich inner lives that we were learning about, and maybe in some other ways we don't, and from some of the other characters.
Yeah.
So yes,
I just really thoroughly enjoyed that. I think there's about 14 seasons of different shows interlocking there, and it was just I felt like Jessica's run just ended in a way that left me wanting more.
Well, I think that's good. I think you should. I mean, I think you should always want more, and the last thing you want is to like just fizzle out.
Right.
So,
but it was primed, and so now it sits on Disney Plus, and like people get to watch it, but
I think people are still finding that show, and still like I honestly, going back to the pilot, I think it's one of the best pilots of television ever made. Like really, the story that they tell you in that pilot makes you go, I have to watch more of this.
Yeah, that was the one that hooked me.
Yeah,
was that first episode, and you're like, what is going on? And I'm thinking back, that's when. Towards the end of the first episode is when the bomb goes off in the bar, right? And
the writing was genius on that show. It really was really special. David Tennant's edition was so cool. I kind of lost my mind because I'm a huge Doctor Who fan.
Yeah.
So, I had actually pitched to the director that David should play that part.
I wasn't even thinking of that. That is one of the great all-time.
And I'd love to take credit for it being my idea. It wasn't. When I was pitching it, they had already offered it to David. And the director looked like, she turned white when I brought it up. She turned white because no one was supposed to know. So I thought she was like not liking my idea. So then I was pitching it even harder. And little did I know it was already in the works.
So yeah, when I was prepping for this today, I was thinking about how great it's Catherine, right? Is it Kristen was in that show. I wasn't even thinking about David. And so that was a great foil. That was like, that story in and of itself is beyond,
Yeah, Melissa Rosenbaum, who was the showrunner, like truly a genius woman and was so invested, talked to the actors, like Kristen and her would talk about stuff. Like they would really flesh things out. It was really amazing.
And the other woman's mom, she was a great character.
Yes.
The stage mom.
Rebecca De Mornay.
Yes.
I think that,
Yes.
Yeah, that was the cool. Yeah.
So that's a great show. When magic like that, can you see magic like that happening on a TV show before you get there? Or is it post hoc that you go, wow?
I knew, listen, it's Marvel. So, it's super secretive. You don't know much about it. So only I only knew what I knew from the character, like based on canon. And I was always a fan of that character. And I knew what Kristen was going to do. I knew she was going to bring something incredible to it. So I was super excited to see it all. So like, you never know going in, that's one of the hardest parts of our job is, actor will say, well, what do you think? Should I do this? And you're like, it's hard. Like, your bias comes into it. Like I was saying earlier, I don't love horror movies.
Right.
So it's hard for me sometimes to read a horror movie and say, this is the one to do. Cause it's like a genre that freaks me out.
I'm just trying to think of if there ever was like a fall down drunk that you wanted to win more than her. And I can't
I'm
think.
right here, dude.
Yeah, well, besides you, yeah. No, I mean, like when she would start drinking, it was like you could feel it.
Yeah,
you could feel the pain. It's a great show. Have you seen it?
No? Are you guys still talking about Jessica Jones?
Yeah. I love.
I have not. But I know he loves this shit. I've heard him talk about it before.
Jump in, watch it.
Yeah.
I think you'll love it.
I need something good to watch.
That first episode is watch the first episode, and if you don't like it, then don't keep going. But you probably will.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Doctor Who, he was so good in that too. And it's like, they crushed that casting.
They really did.
So you have this great set of clients now.
Yeah.
Like I said,
I'm very lucky.
Yeah. A number of them are some of my favorite actors. So it's like, how do you start to think about what's next for you personally?
Well, I've been... you don't
run out of ambition, right?
No, absolutely not. And like, what's kind of cool about it is each client has their own ambitions. And like, I get to celebrate each of those ambitions and then they become mine. And, like a client will come to me and say, hey, I really want to do this one thing. And I say, okay, cool. I have no idea where we're going to start, but like, let's figure it out. And then I start to call other people like, hey, how did you do this? Or how did this come about? And I get to just sort of help figure it out. And I love nothing more than to help. I love when people come to me with an idea or a project and I can just sort of help and water it and get it to where it wants to. That's just so exciting to me. And that's one of the reasons why I like being a manager is because every day is different in that way. Like I never know what idea a client might have or a client would say, I want to write something and I like read it and I'm like, this is brilliant. Like, let's see if we can take this out. Let's see what we can do with it. So yeah. And I personally, I have ambitions too. Like, I have a series that I've been working on about my life as a cruise director that I would really love to sell and see on the air one day. just like a very comedic, dark look on what it's like to work on a cruise ship. That like, we look gorgeous in our navy blazers with our gold buttons, but actually behind the scenes we're all drunks and it's kind of a mess. And
White Lotus on a cruise ship.
It's that's what it's like. It's pretty crazy and pretty brutal. So yeah, I'd love to do that, but like I work for a really great company. We're Bicoastal. They made me a partner last year, which was just a dream of mine to be valued in that way at a company. And sky's the limit for our company. And I'm very happy and lucky. I mean, I've had a weird sort of journey to get here. That's why I say to people, I'm like, listen, there is no path.
Where do you think the industry goes from here? Because it's in a time of flux. I mean, this is part of what we're doing here, right?
Yeah.
It's like there was 0 people in the world said, like, I had to get nobody's approval to have a show. I just needed enough money to be able to do it.
And that's the thing is like, we didn't know what podcasts were back in the day. Like we just didn't know. And now we're like, hey, you should do this podcast. It's going to be great. It's going to help. Their listeners are like this type of demographic that we think you should be plugged into. And we're having these bigger conversations that we were never having before. And that's the thing about entertainment is like, it's constantly changing. I recently saw Sunset Boulevard and, it's about a character who was a silent movie star. And then now they're into talkie films. So like to say that the entertainment business is changing, it's always changing. And it's about learning how to roll with it. So understanding where the change is going and hoping to adapt.
I think that's at the biggest point of change since audio.
Yeah.
Because it's the whole concept of who is a star has changed.
Yeah.
And I think you alluded to it earlier, the amount of revenue streams and activities that you need to participate in are entirely different today. And so when I look at what do I want to be doing with my career, it's thinking about how do we take advantage of that opportunity for people that are near the best at what they do or could be the best at what they do. And I get really excited when we're able to take someone from here to there.
Yeah.
And like that now the number of directions and tree branches across the whole space is entirely different. And that's why finally I said, all right, well, I'm going into this space. Like there's nobody that can stop me. I don't have to get anyone's approval.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do.
And there's nothing better than, we talk about sending the elevator down and stuff. And, when I first started in this business, like I didn't feel like there was anyone trying to help me or trying to help build me up. So like I try to do everything I can for people in this business that come to me and say, how do I do this? Or how do you get into this? And I'm like, well, here's some ideas. Like here are some people I can connect you with. And I think we should all be doing that. We should all, in every aspect of our lives.
Always, right?
If you can help somebody get to their dream, why wouldn't you?
So I'm an educator at the core.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just now we're going to educate different people. We're going to educate different people in different ways than traditionally. Because I look at that system and the way it's structured and it's so broken that you can't, what? At this point, even the actor's drama pathway doesn't make sense anymore.
No, and we, very few schools teach like the business of acting and teach, actors like, here's how you incorporate yourself at this point. Here's how tax write-offs are going to be. Here are the jobs that are good jobs to get in terms of being available to get acting jobs and understanding like how all that stuff works.
So you'll be glad to know Sandy Carroll at UConn.
Yeah.
She contacted me a couple months ago and was like, hey, can your Entrepreneurship Institute help my students? And
That's great.
I was like, finally, I've been waiting for, years for someone from the art school to wake up.
Yeah.
And so next Monday, I think I get to go to her class and talk to 10 acting students about entrepreneurship. And that class is an entrepreneurial class. And so it's like, oh, wow, the whole world can open up if we start thinking about things from different sides of it.
Yeah, because you are your business. You are your business when you're an actor.
What's the thing you're most excited about right now? Life, business, whatever.
The thing I'm most excited about right now. Well, first of all, I think that I'm having so much fun with seeing how streaming is working out. Like the multitude of platforms that are also sort of now becoming one, and how shows sort of come to life in a different way than sort of the network system used to be. And the network system still has its own, like, still works. It still does its thing. But it's also seeing shows that are like Fox doesn't do pilots anymore. Like they just do straight to series. So that changes their dynamic and how they develop. And so the television development process has really changed over the past couple of years because, what was once just Netflix, now there's so many different platforms. And so we're seeing this like real golden age of television.
Yeah. Have you seen the Q app yet?
No.
Oh yeah. So one of our entrepreneurs from UConn, he was Bird, Snapchat, actually did some time with, was it Quibi?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever it was that blew up.
God rest
did
his
his time
soul.
with there. What came out of that was Q app. And so he's got people lining up what they're getting ready to watch and building out data sets of it. And so it was interesting because I saw Garrett on social he was taking a victory lap for Moana 2 because he was like, this is $1 billion film. He's like, my data will tell you this is $1 billion film. And then now it's $1 billion film, right? And I guess that was really counter to what the experts were saying. And so like the amount of data that people are pulling through and trying to understand where the business of this goes because of streaming, because of the digitization of the viewership, it sort of is a real game changer in an interesting way.
But it's also a little scary because we're plugging in so much information and data, but we're forgetting about like just like the human experience. And like, I don't want it to get to a point where like, well, the data says this won't be a good show, or the data says this show's not going to.
We're already past that.
Sometimes you got like, and there are plenty of executives and people like, there's a lot of people in this business that will still take that great thing that they're like, I don't know, but we have to try this because I love this material so much.
I think people are willing to try things, but like even you look at how Netflix makes a decision, right, on bringing it back. It's such a short period of time before they make that call.
I think that they've gotten better over the years at that. I think in the beginning you really had a short window to make sure your show was working for them. But I listen, I'm a bleeding heart, so I believe that that good stories need to be told and that people will find them and tell them.
Fair enough. How are you doing, man? How are we on time?
We're I think a little bit over an hour.
Okay.
I have a great story to end on if you guys need one.
Yeah.
I love your story.
So it just occurred while this conversation was happening. I ducked out because I had to bring somebody their luggage, the people that were recording here beforehand. So I get into the elevator. I'm like trying, and this guy's trying to come up. It's going down. Like this is the new problem here. So I'm bringing this guy's luggage. We stop on the 9th floor. I'm like, whatever. I'm texting him. I'm like, don't come up the fucking elevator. Like, I have your bag. Like, we'll be done. So get down. There's two guys that walk into the elevator in floor 9. I'm on my phone texting them. We get all the way down, and they both get off the elevator first. I'm like, good, get the fuck out of the way. So I get to this guy, give him his luggage, and he's like, oh, like, thanks, man. He's like, looks like kind of weird. And then the guys like kind of walk out, who I haven't looked at all. And he like comes back, the guy who was giving the luggage to, and he's like, is that fucking Bradley Cooper that just came off of the elevator? So apparently I was just on the elevator with Bradley Cooper and did not even realize or acknowledge it.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a good story. Is that what you're saying?
but it's also like, that sucks that you missed it. Cause like, you could have been like, dude, I love you.
Yeah, it's not good in that way, but.
So we got a friend who's Bad Brad.
Bad Brad, baby.
What's Bad Brad?
Well, so Bradley doesn't drink. Bradley Cooper. Yeah. So, because apparently he was Bad Brad at one point, and now he doesn't drink.
We were all Bad Brad at some point, I think.
Well, I have a friend who gets mistaken for Bradley Cooper. He also gets blackout drunk to the point where nobody knows what happens.
Oh.
And so that, when he hits that line, that's Bad Brad.
Wow. Because
he can be mistaken in a restaurant or bar as Bradley Cooper easily. And he's just whoosh.
Wow. And
Bradley Cooper doesn't drink. So it's like it's his alter ego.
Yeah. I mean, that could be like
it's like both's alter ego.
I once went home with a guy I thought looked like The Rock because I was really drunk. And my friends kept saying like, that guy doesn't look like The Rock. And I was like, no, he totally does. And when I woke up, he didn't.
He didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. That's when I was like, drinking is bad.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a way. Now,
a good
that's
PSA.
how you.
That's about as
just
good
so
a
you
PSA
know,
as you can get.
that's how you end the interview. Not with your story. Your story sucked. That's a good story. Yeah.
Well, his was new.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a fresh story.
But, yeah.
I'd workshop
but-
mine.
Yeah. Oh, well,
Yeah.
there you go. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank you for
I
having
appreciate
me.
it. Yeah, it was fun.
It's been great, you guys.